BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team in our August 21st preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight, Dan, we've got the Hawley Bearcats.
Yeah, Hawley, one of the most consistently dominant programs in the big country over really going on almost a decade now under Coach Mitch Abels. That has just been a remarkable turnaround of a program. And it looks like they're going to have another outstanding team this year. They have 16 of their 26 lettermen back from last year's 10-3 squad, including 5 offensive and 7 defensive starters. So a good nucleus back. Obviously, we'll have some guys to replace and some questions to answer, and we'll get to those here in a few minutes. But it's looking like another successful year from the Hawley Bearcats in my book.
All right, before we get going, we'd remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the little bell, and you'll get notifications each and every time that Big Country Preps comes up with a new video. Also, we'd like to thank a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of KLAX 93.5 FM out of Brackenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, give Rob a shot at 254-559-2266. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. That is Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge.
And with that, let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about the Hawley Bearcats and some of the questions that they will face this year on the football field. I think the biggest is we've talked a little about the success that they've had under Coach Mitch Abels. Obviously, went to back-to-back state championship games, won one a couple of years ago. And I think this is going to be an opportunity, maybe the biggest in recent years, for Hawley to prove that it is that type of reload program as opposed to a rebuild one. They do have a good nucleus back, as I mentioned earlier, with 16 lettermen back, but they did lose some really key pieces from last year's team, and they're going to be replacing some of those with the 5-5 JV team. So I think this is going to be an opportunity really to just see how well established that program is. I think you and I both expect this to be a good Hawley football team. I think it's going to be, but I do think they're going to have maybe some challenges this year that they haven't in recent years, just in terms of filling some holes. So I'm excited to see how they do that. I expect to be successful, but I think that is a question that they will be facing this year.
With the rebuild offensive line, I think that really is going to be a key for Hawley. I'm interested to know, I mean, if they can get some receivers for the Abels kid to throw to, but while he's breaking them in, I think that offensive line is going to be really important, especially early on, to get that push. That's my question with the rebuilt offensive line. Will they get that push to get that offensive balance while they're breaking in some new receivers? I think that's a key for them early on.
Yeah, and the third question I have is going to be kind of pertaining to that passing game. I think you look at what they did last year and you expect that to be a real strength for them. Keegan Abels, quarterback, had a monster season, threw for over 3,400 yards, 44 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. Just really remarkable numbers. But then you look and they're going to be without Chandlin Myers, Deontay Ramon, 2 big-time talents at the receiving position. So I'm eager to see kind of what Abels has in store for his senior season. We saw what he's capable of last year, but like you said, they are going to have some new playmakers on the edges this year. So I'm excited to see what he does just in terms of stepping into maybe even a bigger leadership role and kind of being kind of the undisputed leader of that offense. I'm excited to see what he has in store for his senior season.
All right, and with that, we're going to take a quick look at the 2024 Hawley football schedule. We'll begin with the non-district portion. August 30th, we'll see a road date at Roscoe to open the season. September 6th will be a home date with the Albany Lions and a huge non-district matchup for the big country. September 13th, a week later, the Merkle Badgers will come calling. After that, another week later, De Leon will come calling. That's a nice schedule step up for De Leon. Win or lose, that's one of those games that'll toughen them up. I think it's actually a good move on De Leon's part. My hat is off to him for having the guts to schedule that one. Also, at Eastland, will round out the non-district portion for Hawley. That is on September the 27th.
and then they will have their open date the following week on October 4th before opening district at Anson on October 11th. They'll follow that with a home date versus Olney on the 18th of October, and then go to Cisco on the 25th. And they will wrap up their district schedule November 1st with a home game against Abilene TLCA before finishing the regular season with a huge game at Stanford on the 8th of November. So this has been one of the most fun districts in all of the big country to follow them in recent years. And you look at that slate again this year with Hawley, with Stanford especially, and then Cisco obviously there as well. Should be a really fun district as well again this year.
All right. Game of the year for Holly. I think this is an easy one. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's that regular season finale at Stanford. I think on paper that looks like a district championship game to me. Stanford has a ton back. Hawley has actually has obviously been the gold standard in recent years, but this year that could be a really fun matchup to close out the regular season. Your thoughts?
I agree with you. I think that's the game of the year. I think that's going to be the district championship game to close things out, and that's the way you want it to be. You want that big district championship winner take all to happen there in the first week of November or early November, and I think that's what we've got at least in this situation.
I agree. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun schedule, and I think uh, I agree with you earlier with what you said about that non-district schedule. It's really interesting. Obviously, you have that huge matchup with Albany, which has kind of become a rivalry game in recent years. But there are some games on that schedule with some teams that you might not expect necessarily to schedule a team that's had the success that Hawley has. So clearly, there's some teams that are viewing that as an opportunity to get better during their non-district portion and to get
Sure.
ready for their district as well.
All right, and with that, it's about time to wrap up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Hawley Bearcats. But before we do that, we want to remind you folks that on August 21st, that's the big day here at Big Country Preps. That's the day that we release our preseason football preview with 40, well, it's 45 team previews. We'll get to that here in a second, but we'll have team previews. We'll have a feature for every single team. We'll have stats, standings, videos, opinion pieces, a whole bunch of photos. It'll be the most complex, most complete look at Big Country High School football of any media source in the area. And as Dan will tell you now, it's about to get a little bigger than we've had in the past.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Big Country Preps coverage area is growing this school year with the addition now of Mineral Wells, Glen Rose, Graham, Toller, and Miles. So we are super excited to add those five schools to the mix, increasing our base 40 schools now to 45 11-man schools. We hope you are excited to follow our coverage of those schools throughout the school year. In the meantime, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, and we hope you return tomorrow when we preview the Stanford Bulldogs here at BigCountryPreps.com.